So this will probably be a very short live stream. I haven't actually put a lot of thought into what I'm going to say or what I want to talk about. Um, I'm hoping that Shan's going to go live at some point. So hopefully there'll be at some point where she'll pop up in the chat and say, "Hey, I'm here. I'm going to go live." Welcome to whoever's just popped in. I'm glad I'm not here talking to myself. Like I said, I've got no real plans for this live stream. I'd like to try and have it directed by the chat. So, hi Driftaway. So, I'm basically wanting to talk about what everyone else wants to talk about, basically. I've also put the link there. If anyone wants to come up on panel, you are more than welcome. If you do click on the link and I don't notice, you'll have to let me know, because I've not really... The only time I've done it before is when Shan came up, and that was prearranged anyway. So she came up at the very start of my live. But feel free to, if you want to come in and chat, you are more than welcome. There's a few different things that have been going through my mind about Kiely and about the case and everything else. And I think, first of all, and it's not directly related to Kiely, but it's about the so-called true crime community. Because I follow a lot of different genres. Like, one of the ones that I follow is travel genres. People who are doing videos, traveling places. And several of the ones that I follow have at some point in time connected somewhere on their travels, and they pop into each other's videos occasionally, and they get along really well. And when they do hop into each other's videos, they share each other's channels, and it's a nice community. So it occurred to me today that this kind of drama that you see happens only within the so-called true crime community. So why is that? What makes people different when it comes to true crime on YouTube as opposed to other genres? So that's my first question. I don't know why that is, and it's not just about the way people treat each other. It's about the attitude, the all-round attitudes. So I was watching someone's live stream about a week ago, and they mentioned that they are no longer monetized. Hi Angela, hi everybody who I haven't said hi to. Sorry, I was just kind of waffling away there. I'm hoping that this is just a stopgap and that maybe Shan will go live sometime soon. I haven't seen anything from her today, but I'm thinking that it's been a few days, so I'm hoping that she might go live, because I love Shan's lives. So, yeah. Hey, Randomonious. That's brilliant. Yeah, I love Shan's lives, so hopefully Shan will pop up sometime soon and be like, "Hey, I'm here, I'm going to go live." But in the meantime, I thought I'd just pop in and see who's around and just general chat about, yeah, Mrs. G. People get really personal, and there are some major narcissists within the true crime community. And I mean, I guess everybody, if you're going to go on YouTube and create a channel, I guess you've got to have a slight little bit of narcissism in you, maybe. Hi, Christine. Although I must admit, it took me, 6 months to be comfortable with putting my voice on this channel, because I hate the sound of my voice. But, I mean, I guess we've all got to have a little bit of ego. Um, yeah, drift away. I think people do lose the plot and they forget why they're doing the channel. There's a lot of emotion involved. Um, and people do get emotional about crime. I think that that's a huge thing. And I think I wonder too if a lot of people who cover true crime have their own personal backgrounds. So people who perhaps do come from abusive backgrounds, or people who have been touched by some sort of crimes in the past. And maybe that's why people become so emotional when it comes to true crime, because it gets nasty. It really does. I was I'm still going through folders and going through working out what I can throw out and working out what I can throw into videos and stuff like that. And I saw the screenshot from when Charlotte Green left YouTube. And it was it was just the same story as everybody else, saying I've just been bullied so much that I've had enough and I'm changing. I think she said that she changed all her videos so no one could make comments, and she was just hopping out of there. Yeah, randomonious. I think a lot of us have been affected by narcissists, or we've been affected by crimes in the past, or maybe it's just we've been just really touched by something in particular. Um, for me, I hadn't actually. Yeah, Charlotte. I hope Charlotte Green is. I hope things are going well for her now. I know that at the time that she left YouTube, she was struggling quite a lot in her personal life. Um, I know for anyone, she was living in Sydney, I think it was, and I know for anyone who lives in Sydney, that's a really expensive place to live. And she was really struggling back then. And the bullying on YouTube just wasn't helping. So, Charlotte, if you're out there, I don't know, she might not even bother with YouTube anymore. But Charlotte, if you're out there, we love you. We hope you're doing well. Um, but I'm not going to try and sing that. Everybody wants to rule the world. It's so true. There are some major egos in true crime. Um, but it's interesting because there's also that division. Um, everybody has to see. It seems like everybody has to have a channel that they hate. And okay, I'll admit I really, really dislike Gray Hughes because I find him super arrogant. Um, which is probably not a very nice thing for me to jump on here and say, but I do. I followed some of his content around the Delphi case, but I just found him to be the original narcissist, basically. Um, and yeah, there's Rando. I think you're right. There's a lot of narcissists who just really don't like being around other narcissists. That's what it seems. Which it's a shame because when you have people who are saying that they're in it, yeah, I find him insufferable. He is downright rude. He's especially rude to women. Um, and he is easily bought. Look how easily he dropped his Kylie Rodney content. Um, and I think too the thing that annoys me with Gray Hughes, it's channels like him that make it harder for smaller channels to feel comfortable with monetization, because he really turns it into a money grab. If you've ever been in, like I said, I followed him for a while with the Delphi case before Richard Allen got arrested, and then everything went crazy. And to be honest, I'm currently not following the Delphi case. I'm waiting for all that to go to court because I can't stand all the crap that's going on with that. Rando, you think he was bought to do the overlay? I think that's quite a possibility. And the crazy thing is that one of our community has proven that the overlay is inaccurate, but he just would not accept that it was inaccurate. Yeah, not everyone is a good fit, Mrs. G. You're so spot on. Mrs. G was joking about me striking her for showing some of my content, and I was like, yeah, I'm a grown up, I don't do that. And I will say this: if you are a genuine Kiely creator and you are being respectful, I have no problems with you using part of my content in your own videos. Or if you're doing a live stream like Shan, I've got no problems with you showing my content in your live stream. There's in YouTube Studio, the option is there. I can go in and I can check, and it shows me any instances where it's flagged, where someone's used my content and it's questioned that is it copyright. And when it comes to people like Shan or Vicky Marie Chats, or there's a few creators who've used my content, and I just click on it and archive it, because if you're using my content for the same reason that I created my content, and that is to get word out, to educate people, to remind people about cases, then I can't see why you shouldn't use part of my content in your own videos. If you're just doing it to be petty or trying to prove a point, then yeah, I will strike your ass probably. Or it depends. I may just ignore you, because some people it's easier just to ignore them. Yeah, Rando, I think the overlay is bullshit. I think, yeah, Greg Hughes is just a complete douche. Yeah. Mrs. G, I don't take prisoners. It's not my thing to go that level. Yeah, like I said, I think if someone really, really overstepped the line in terms of using my content for the wrong reasons, then I may strike them. But yeah, most of the time I just ignore idiots. Drift away. Here's a thought on the overlay. They're using the water level being already 3 feet down. Not sure how much shoreline that would be foot-wise. Now, it's interesting because I wish I could remember where I heard there was someone on panel at one point, and they were talking about the drop in the depth of the reservoir, and they pointed out that as far as the shoreline goes, it's actually not a huge amount of shoreline in terms of the difference. I wish it might have been. No, I can't remember. It was definitely someone who did a lot of content. and they were saying that in terms of the distance of the shoreline, how far it went down, that it really it wouldn't equate to a huge amount. But yeah, that's actually an interesting thought. And what I might do later on this afternoon, um, later after this live, and if Shan does live, maybe after that, um, I did a video a few months back after our one of our lakes had flooded. We'd had a lot of rain, we had a lot of flooding, and I might drive back out there this afternoon and see how far that has gone down, and have a look at the difference that makes on the shoreline, just out of interest. Um, yeah, that little man syndrome. Yeah, I know, Mrs. G. Some people really do have little man syndrome. Um, I that whole Dumbo fiasco was a joke. Like, okay, I have. Here's the thing you need to understand about Australians. We do have a sense of humour that is perhaps a little bit different to people in other countries. Definitely a British influence on our humour. So sometimes I do things tongue in cheek, and it's just me just being a typical Australian joker. And that's all the Dumbo thing was. It was me just being a joker. It was nothing more than that. And it just got blown out of proportion. Um, no, Drift Away, I never heard the footage either as far as the effect on the shoreline. Um, so they said, yeah, the water went down 3 foot. So from your like the shoreline is a huge difference when it goes down 3 foot. Yeah. Like I said, I think I'll definitely head out to Lake Epilock this afternoon and have a look and see now that the water levels have hopefully dropped back down to normal, because it's been a bit dry since then. And I'll have a look and see what the distance is. I guess what it comes down to is the steepness of the banks. So when I think about it, and when you say it like that, hi Sherry, then your lake is smaller than Prosser by 100 acres. Ha, Epilock, where I'll go and look at later, is actually a really really big lake. Um, so yeah, I'll definitely have to go out and have a look. You can't fix stupid, Christine. No, you cannot. Yeah, what did Sam Brown? It wasn't just Sam Brown talking about something gruesome. That seemed to be a real theme. You know, things that were traumatic, things for gruesome, things that were gruesome. Um, that's not the language that you expect to hear when someone is just missing, or if they think someone has been abducted. It's not steep. 14 foot, 55 foot from shore. Oh, I've got maps somewhere that if you look up fishing maps for Lake Prosser, there's actually maps you can access that show the level of the ground, which is how I discovered that basically not much further than where Kiely's car was you had the drop to 55 foot. which is why I still believe that they were trying to get that car out into the deeper water, because had they got it out a little bit deeper, yeah. So Driftaway, um, if you look up a fishing map of Prosser Reservoir, I think, um, I'll publish a screenshot later. I'll try and remember to publish a screenshot later, or do a video later, um, because it shows which might help with trying to figure out the distance in the shoreline. There's a video that someone had put it out in August of that year. I think Shan actually showed it on a live stream. It was a video that someone had published in August of that year, but it was clearly from sometime before she went into the water, because you could see the water was quite a way up from where it was when they found Kiely. Was there ever any fire cam footage of the reservoir just prior to AWP showing up? Like a week prior? That would be really interesting. And I think, I don't know where Shan is today. Maybe she's finally done that thing where you were down and you finally get a bit of sleep. Because I'm sure she could answer that question. I would imagine. Okay, I may have to mute in a minute because my neighbours are putting their wheelie bins back in. No, the dogs are still asleep. That's okay. I don't want to deafen you with crazy dogs. Sorry, I shouldn't laugh at her, but she's asleep under the blanket, and that was the most pathetic attempt at barking that I've ever heard. Clearly, they can't be bothered reacting to the wheelie bins going in. So clearly, it's I chose a good time to go live because it's clearly nap time. I know nobody would be remotely intimidated by that bark. It sounded more like a puppy bark than a dog that's about to turn 6. Yeah, Mrs. G, could you put before Adventures with Purpose? Could you put any date in and view the cameras? Because from my memory, once everyone started looking at the cameras using the link, suddenly that link vanished, and then nobody could find any archival footage. What would be interesting to see is, I don't know if you remember, but Harsh Reality actually contacted one of the people that was listed in connection with the fire cameras and got a copy of all the frames for the cameras for around that period of time. So I don't know if he still kept them. Yeah, Rando, I think there were about 4 different versions of the fire cam, which is a joke. And I really don't put a lot of weight on the fire cams at all. I think when you know that the hamburger, or the junior hamburger's father, had connections, you've got people in the area that can pay people with the skills to sort it out. But Yeah, drift away. Where were the boats? Now, when you look at the searching, I prefer to call them hamburgers. I think it's a safer option. And junior hamburger, kind of like, I don't know if you guys have it in America. But like a McHappy Meal, the burger for kids. Um, no, the media never ever talked about the fire cams, not once. Um, because it's bullshit, in my opinion. I honestly don't believe that the fire cams were real. Um, I have huge respect for Shan and the hours that she's spending digging into the different frames and stuff in the fire cams. But my biggest issue is that it would be so easy to change dates and stuff on there. And the fact that there were different versions of the fire cams that came out. And the other issue with the fire cams was that for those of us who didn't have the link and we went looking for ourselves, none of the fire cams that we went and looked at were pointed at the reservoir. So supposedly, what we're supposed to believe is that somehow in this historical footage, the fire cams were all turned to the reservoir at precisely the right time to catch Kylie's car going in the water. And yet, when the rest of us went looking for this historical footage, first of all, we couldn't find the historical footage. Secondly, we find ourselves on a completely different web page from the one that was given out in emails. And, hi, Mecky. And not only that, but when those of us went into that other link for the fire cams, they weren't looking at the reservoir. I don't believe in coincidence. It does not. It just, it doesn't fit for me at all. It really doesn't. Um, yeah, Rando, I agree. The footage was just bullshit. Um, I really, I didn't think much of Grey Hughes' overlay. And like I said, Garam Gargantuous, or whatever you call him, um, there's someone in Shan's public Discord who has done a heck of a lot of work on the Firecam footage and has proven that Grey Hughes' overlay was actually out of whack, which means that the whole thing is completely wrong. So yeah, I don't know. Now I'm just going to pause for a sec, and I am going to ask people to hit the like button. I forget to ask these things, and like I mentioned the other day, we need to try and get Kylie's name out as much as possible. I think the main reason that I went live, other than because I'm hoping that Shan's around, but I just felt like going live. But yeah, I want to get as much content out as I can in relation to Kiely, just to keep her name out there. And just to share the love. Yeah, exactly. Drift away. Um, a lot of people, the email with the Firecam email, seem to have had a virus attached to it. because it seems like pretty much every channel who got that email in relation to the fire cams suddenly found themselves hit by a virus. You had people who, if they were using their phones melted down. People whose computers had major issues. Even people like Perplexed suddenly found their computers having complete meltdowns. Good question, Billy darling. Why are they all so shady and why are they lying? Like, if it's truly an accident, which is what we're supposed to believe, why, first of all, are there 20 million different versions of every single narrative? I mean, if we were to sit down now and to try and put together a solid narrative, it would be almost impossible because there's so many different versions of the story. So, no, Miss L, don't apologise for bringing up the fire cam footage. It's good to talk about it and to nut it out. Hey, Billy. And I think all of this stuff, it's important to talk about it and nut it out. Like, there's just so much about Kiely's case that's just wrong and doesn't fit. And why? You know, why are people so invested in shutting down channels? Yeah, it is all subjective. And I'm not judging anyone if they do believe in the fire cam footage, because what I've seen of content where people are still talking about the fire cam footage, there's still plenty of credibility in what they are saying. I just have my questions in terms of the things that I've already said. So, and who knows? We're all coming at this from a different angle. And I think it's good that there are people who still are looking at the fire cams, because maybe they will find more important things that would otherwise be missed because the rest of us have gone, well, I think the fire cams are just complete utter bullshit. Yeah, and I'm like that too, Rando. I have changed my mind on a few things in Kiely's case. And I look at things, I look at evidence, and will base my opinions on evidence that people show. I mean, even down to when people originally spoke about dragging Kiely's car into the water with a boat, I questioned that because we hadn't seen a lot of footage to do with the search that showed other boats on the water. But then it makes sense, because otherwise how do you get through that mud? You can only push her vehicle so far with another vehicle. It's not going to drive through the mud on its own without becoming utterly bogged. So, and then we hear that snippet that we all missed from Megan saying that the kids would take their boats to the reservoir when they partied. So we can't rule out the possibility that a boat was used to get her car. Okay, good night, Ms. L. We can't rule out the possibility of a boat being used to get her car out into the water. Christine, I think Ellie have made it clear in the past that they won't talk to people. I know Harsh tried a few times early on to speak to Nevada and Placer County and got given the runaround. Even got, I think it was Nevada, then sent him off to Washoe or something like that. Yeah, I agree with you, Driftaway. I think something happened to Kiely that night that wasn't her own doing. It's hard to word it without getting flagged by YouTube, but after 10 to 15 feet, the car was buoyant for 1 minute 38 seconds. What are you basing that on, Mrs. G? Is if that's yeah, see that's yeah, that's still, I'm not taking that as a fact. Simply because I don't trust the fire cams. Okay, see you soon, Rando. Um, I I think we've got to keep in mind that things, when we look at things, we've got to question everything. We can't get stuck on one idea. I mean, I know I quite often, or I seem to frequently go back to her being injured in a fight. But sometimes I stop and think, well, is it that, or was it simply an overdose? Yeah, drift away. I'm the same. Her car could not have got that far out into the water being driven. And the thing is, we've just been given so much additional information to sort through and to try and wrap our heads around. But the majority of the things that we've given, we can't really prove 100%. And yeah, what was the Lord of the Flies reference? I mean, that went pretty quickly. That vanished pretty quickly. I think there was only a few articles that used that. But you had two different people refer to it in terms of Lord of the Flies. So, drift away. I think it would take more than people to push it out that far. You're right, with the murky, muddy, soft ground. I don't think, because don't forget too, where it where it would have been murky and muddy and soft would have had water there as well. So that would have been far too difficult for people to actually push it themselves. You really, really would have needed another vehicle to push it. And like I said, that would only go so far because you'd need something that had serious mudding tyres. You couldn't just go with any random four-wheel drive. You'd need decent tyres that were set up for driving in mud. I mean, we've seen the photos of bigger vehicles stuck in the mud. So you'd need something that was meant for driving in the mud, something with decent mud tyres. And even then, it could only go so far. I think I'm more and more thinking that there possibly was a boat used to get that vehicle out into the reservoir. Angela, it could have been. I know people joke and think it's rot saying that it could have been dropped by a helicopter, but if you saw the video I did a few months ago, it was talking about in the area. It's a company that fixes ski lifts, and they have helicopters that are used to lift big poles, and they use them for fixing the ski lifts outside of season. And they have a huge capacity for weight. Hey, Mum, first. Good to see you there. So you can't completely eliminate the thought of a helicopter, especially because there were so many helicopters over the area anyway searching, that if someone heard a helicopter at night searching, or they would think it was searching, can you pull a car by boat? You would need the car to be buoyant first, I believe, because obviously the boat isn't going to have. You'd need traction to get a car out of the mud. Pulling it by boat is not going to get it out of the mud. I think all that you would achieve is that you would either snap the rope or quite possibly dip the arse end of your boat into the water. So I would imagine even with a fairly strong motor on the boat, although I guess because the rope on the boat would be on water level, so it may have some impact on the vehicle if it's pulling, because it might lift it out of the mud a bit. But I still think it would be. I think you would have to get it buoyant first before trying to pull it with a boat. I think even if you had a really good power boat, you would have to get it out of the mud because it would act like suction. I think if a vehicle was stuck in the mud, you would need to break the suction first. So you would definitely need to be pushing it out of the mud. And I think you would have to have it free of the suction and buoyant before it would actually go anywhere. I'm not an engineer and I know very little about boating, so that is simply an opinion. That is all I can offer, an opinion. But yeah, I'm trying to think back to various videos with Adventures with Purpose. And when you look at when they've retrieved cars and the cars have been there for a while and they've sunk into the mud a bit under the water, they've had to use airbags to lift them first. Billy, a crane could certainly work. If anyone has underwater, it'd be light, but at the surface it would weigh a ton. Yeah. Didn't Megan's son have that on his vehicle as per MC? Didn't he have? I know he had a tow rope. She made a point of telling people that he had a tow rope. Yeah. Oh, look, wouldn't it be amazing to see Adventures with Purpose's original video of retrieving the vehicle? I think there's a lot there that is known. And when you think about the whole Jared Lysick situation, how convenient is that Adventures with Purpose come out? Yeah, Christine. Campers wouldn't notice anyone unloading a boat at the boat ramp when it's common. And particularly afterwards when they're searching for Kiely. I mean, they probably had, you look at different various footage that was happening, and you have the footage of that black kayak that was going across in the background, on one of the media footages. Yes. You're right, Mrs. G. Megan was at one point in time talking about driving her own car into the reservoir just to test out her theory, because Braden had a tow rope so could pull it back out again. Who says that? That's just oh, okay. No, there are designated times to be out there. All national parks close at dawn. But we know that it wasn't closed because the kids were partying out there. And I mean, to me, I'm thinking, when you think about the amount of the apparent, because it doesn't seem to be, any videos you look at, there doesn't seem to be a lot of searching happening. But the what's illegal, the kids being out there. Yeah. But I mean, if the kids were out there overnight partying, then it would be just as easy to head out there and put a boat out on the water late afternoon. If you've got a camping pass, it is illegal to put your vehicle in the water even by accident. Yeah. There was actually something I saw on YouTube a few weeks ago about some guy getting arrested for driving his car into the water. And he was doing it for some kind of stunt. Yeah, Mrs. G, theoretically, to be there all night, then you need to be at a campsite. But given that these parties have been happening and nothing's been happening about the parties, I think we can presume that there's very little policing that goes on after hours in these reservoirs. Anyway, I think that it's a definite possibility. You know, people fish, people go out fishing. There's nothing to stop someone having floodlights on their boat to be going out on the water at night time. Yeah, who knows? I mean, if we're talking about people who put a car in a reservoir with someone in it, then I think the least of the things they're going to be worried about is whether or not they're actually allowed to be taking a boat out on the water at night time. And definitely, I think we've seen that people who live in the area tend to live by their own rules. You don't see they don't seem to be worried about repercussions of things they did. Yeah, I don't know, but I mean that's just one theory. Boat can be on water at night if it's law enforcement. Yep. Yeah, I know, Rando. It's. I think you've got to take into account that people turn a blind eye there to kids going out partying at night at the reservoir, to kids driving home drunk on the back roads, to kids drinking when they're underage and taking drugs when they're underage. So I think in terms of kids taking boats out on the water when they're partying, I think people are going to turn a blind eye to that as well. Just, just my observation. But yeah, anyway. We've been on for nearly an hour, and I actually do like to keep my live streams short. I'm not someone who likes to go with the 10-hour long silent live streams like somebody we know. And I think it's actually been a really good discussion. I actually really enjoy when, yeah, Rando, I've really loved your input with this. I really enjoy these live streams where I jump in and I don't know where I'm going with it, and you guys just kind of direct me in terms of what direction we're going with the conversation. I think this is a really good way of us really wrapping our heads around stuff to do with Kylie's case. Christine, that is such a good question. Who's got enough money to pay people off? Yep. Rando streams are the best streams. Of course you would say that, Rando. But they are. I think, it's easy enough to jump in a live stream, and I mean, because I do it on my phone, I don't use videos or stuff or anything, so you just have to put up with the sound of my voice, and I don't pay. I mean, I don't play videos, but I really enjoy being led by you guys and basically letting you guys lead the discussion, because I think, that's one of the best ways to find out information, is to question each other, is to have debates about things. So I think when we come together like this and people have their comments that they want to make and they have questions that they want to make, it allows us to really think it through together. And I think there's a lot of value in doing that. So anyway, hopefully we'll see Shan live tomorrow, maybe. I'm sure she's probably still, I know she was doing a similar thing to me, and not block, ignore, strike. Yeah, exactly, Rando. Yeah. Hey, Sandra. Um, I'm sure Shan's busy dealing with where I think we're all sort of. It's funny how we all seem to be on a similar path quite often. So I think Shan's also going through a lot of her old content and stuff and consolidating. So it's possible that she's busy doing that, or like I said, it's possible that she's finally doing a bit of a catch-up sleep, and then she'll bounce back and be back tomorrow. ready for a live stream. Anyway, if you haven't already clicked the like, please do. Let's hit the like for Kiely. And I've really enjoyed listening to, or looking at people's opinions and discussing what people have brought to the table. And yeah, hopefully we can do this, something similar to this again in the near future. You've been great. I love the way people think. Okay, so thanks for coming. Hit the like on the way out, and I'll see you all again soon. Okay, bye.